wanted this book, wanted her to write. It was called The Interior Castle. And she was 60 some years old, and she did not want to write another book. So she spoke to God and she said, why do I need to write another book? Because I don't know what you want me to say. I have no idea, don't have the words. And it is even in her prologue of this book that she said she turned to God for help. And the vision that ensued, she describes. She called God beloved. She said, beloved, I have no idea what to say here. If you want me to do this thing, you're going to have to speak through me. And Teresa was a visionary. She was not just inspired by words and with words. She was a visionary. She had visions. And there were times in the past when in our Christian traditions, seers and visionaries were very respected. So she got a vision. She received the vision of a crystal castle inside the human soul, with God, the beloved, at its center. And in the interpretation of Teresa of Avila, this journey is a journey that we are all taking. It is at the core the longing to belong, the longing to find home. And many of us, especially expats, have an interesting relationship to home. We live with a hidden or even a very overt longing for a lost home, or we are seeking home, or we seek belonging in a relationship. We have a archetype in us of a search for home. And Teresa gives us this image of the crystal castle. A crystal castle as the seat within us where God is at home. So I thought today, considering that we are looking at mysticism revisited, I will introduce and bring into our circle people like Julian of Norwich or Meister Eckhart, and today it's Teresa of Avila. They were founding voices in what we could call today is unity, way back, because they did not seek God in the books or in the heavens. They talked about this, the journey to here. They were silenced through the ages. Some of them did not even make it into the Catholic traditions. But today it's Teresa of Avila. There were two Teresas. One was Therese of Lisieux. She was the little one. She was a Carmelite nun who was also a mystic, and she was also a visionary. But she died very early of tuberculosis. She was not even 20. But Teresa of Avila, she was called the big one, the big Therese. Obviously in her 60s wrote the book from which I'm taking the Crystal Castle. So with that, with that magic thought and that vision, we are going to go into a meditation of the crystal castle. So I invite you to practice what we have been in this particularly exceptional time of our disciplines of respect, shaking off the dust of our feet, taking off whatever is preoccupying you right now, letting it go into the hands of Spirit. Silence yourself, mute, what's called mute yourself, so that whatever is going on in your environment, I am recording now. So we have among us here now the great Teresa. There are pictures of her, paintings of course, not pictures per se. She looked very Spanish. She was an aristocrat. She was from an aristocratic family, and I'm trying to give us a little bit of the music that we have for our time of meditation. So somebody is making some noises. Be mindful that if you need to do that, it's okay, just mute yourself. We have among us the great Teresa now. Her spirit is with us, and our service here is dedicated to her. We're walking in her footsteps. First of all, we come to the alignment. Sit upright. Put pillows behind you if you need to. Align yourself, your body, as a gesture of respect. And check in on yourself. Emotions, thoughts, thinking, problems, all is what is, but at the moment, make that gesture of releasing it into the hands of Spirit. I surrender this and that into the hands of Spirit. Be aware of how meaningful, how spiritually embodied such a gesture really is. I let go in this situation, and I let God. And so we come to a very magical experience because we're walking in Teresa of Avila's footsteps. First, her address, her relationship with God was of that of a beloved, was very strong, and there was very little subservience in that. It was an acknowledgement of equality. Of this relationship to her God as beloved. She wanted to be strong. She was strong. She was determined and strong. And she was immensely courageous for her times, the way she stepped into life, the way she led her work. And she saw herself in daily interaction with her beloved. So I want you to think of standing tall. You don't have to stand up, but think of yourself standing tall and acknowledging the God of your being as beloved. Intimate, equal in strength and power and magnificence to yourself, beloved. And the primary energy that emanates from this God self is a longing to bring you home. And all the external interpretations of what you think home should be, could be, was, all the longing for togetherness with maybe another, finding home in relationships. We all know that that archetype is very strong. In Teresa says it comes from the source within the crystal castle, emanating out, drawing you home. Be that you make it in this one life, that you come home to the realization of the self, or in the crystal castle, or that you have many experiences where you think you found it, and then you realize it's an outer interpretation, and it doesn't fit finally. And you're back to being alone. So the next step from beloved is an acceptance of the next footstep, the next step I take in Teresa's path is to come to an acceptance that within me there is a crystal castle that is the seat, these are her words, the seat of the self, the soul, she calls it. And those among us who make pictures, internal pictures, you can visualize. I visualize a crystal. It's so radiant that I don't really see much of a form. It's just a crystal of immense light, as the seat of my soul. And from this seat of my soul, an eternal pulse emanates forth. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter if you're in touch with it or not, no matter if you are temporarily feeling very much at home somewhere or not, be that you're very alone and longing and interpreting the longing as loneliness. Whatever that impulse is there, and the impulse is permanently beaming out to you to bring you home. But the journey to this home, to the castle, and to the seat of your soul is the journey of a lifetime. And be that you are up in chronological years or not, it's nothing wrong, no shame, no guilt. Be that it is something that resonates with you from Teresa. So we take as a statement of truth, we say it within the privacy of our own home, within me. My destination is to come to that seat of my soul that today we call the Crystal Castle. It's where my soul rests and lives eternally, and from where the longing pulsates forth. And today, this morning, in our collective gathering of fellowship, we feel the wings of spirit supporting us, each and every one of us, to the height to see the possibility of the truth of this. That within me there is a crystal castle, the seat of my soul. And the impulse for merging and oneness and belonging that I have felt, that I have projected onto the world, comes from an impulse from the seat of my soul to come home. And this home is not a call to another world, to the hereafter. No, this is a call of a shift. And for that shift we pray. We know that Spirit is among us and is lifting each one of us to a height where we can see the truth of our being. Receive the gift this morning of this truth, that there is nothing I need to do about it. There is nothing that I need to do about this, because it's a gift. The pulse is a gift. The emanation is a gift. The invitation is a gift. And as long as you're breathing, as long as you are in body, that is the dance. Living in the temporal world, focused on the temporal, or an ever-growing awareness that you have your foundation, your belonging, your home in the interior castle where your soul is. So I want to bring us back. I would like you, before we open our eyes and unmute ourselves, to link with each other in my prayer and our collective prayer for Unity Center of Montreal. To see the interior castle at the heart of that ministry. For there is a collective consciousness that has grown over the years. And if you want to say there is, that collective consciousness has its own soul, its own radiance. But as we see it and affirm it, we light it up. We stand calling on it as it's calling us. Thank you, God. Thank you for each and every one here. Bringing us back now. Wiggle your toes a little bit. Open your eyes gently. And maybe before we get into our conversation, let's just silently bless each person on the screen with a smile, with shining eyes, the sweetness of our presence emanating out to each one. All of us, namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. So I'm going to share some thoughts, continuing with the Mysticism Revisited and planting our field of dreams, individually and collectively. And I looked over the notes from last time, and the key words last time that we were planting were courage, compassion, and creativity. And those are abstract thoughts and ideas, and yet we were planting them. And we were planting them in a field of dreams. And today the field is white of harvest. The field is white for harvest. And I want to talk about that. Something that struck me that comes from Jesus that I want to just bring into. We have Teresa of Avila with us, so why not bring Jesus into the mix? Having to do with the view of your life. You know, Lao Tse, which is, I like to read him, in his great scripture, he said, "Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you." Lao Tse. Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there's nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Well, I don't know. These are times when we could think of many things that are lacking, right? We could think of many things that we believe should go back to normal. And yet, in Unity, in one of our favorite statements, it says, "Every situation that challenges has within the seed of its own cure." Every situation that challenges you right now has within it the seed of its own cure. So the word challenge today is what I would like you to allow to resonate through the coming week. It's not about fixing what is in your life. It's not about waiting for normalcy to occur. It's about accepting the challenge given to you by the very COVID-19, by the very challenge that you might have financially right now, by the very challenge you might have physically right now, that within it is the cure, is the blessing. I like the word blessing even better than the word cure. That's the challenge. To be challenged. Don't you like to be challenged? Don't you like to have something that triggers in you the need to stretch a little? To go look up some possible answers to, to say, I'm tired of this situation, the way I have been dealing with it. I'm using the word, I am challenging myself. I'm challenging to myself to see with new eyes. There is a story by Butterworth, who is one of our Unity teachers. He had friends coming to New York who had never been to New York, and they had all kind of very negative expectations of New York being dangerous or sordid or, a lot of empty apartment buildings and dilapidations and stuff like that. So Butterworth took this couple up on the tower. Just said, well, let's, go to the smallest building of New York, and he let them experience New York from above. And it was stunning. This is Eric Butterworth's story. And it was stunning. And for the rest of the week, these people carried within them that image of the magnificence and the largeness and this incredibleness of New York as they went through New York. So the challenge is really the shift from whatever is going on with COVID. I believe it's a remarkable opportunity, but it's a challenge. And when I say a challenge, that doesn't mean it's comfortable. And a challenge doesn't mean that it's, wearing the old slippers that you're used to. is maybe trying on some shoes that are actually giving you blisters in the beginning. A challenge, is using muscles you haven't used for a while. A challenge is making room in yourself to the possibilities that might come when you simply decide to put some things into the hands of Spirit and truly put it in the hands of Spirit, with the acceptance that within that situation is the cure, is the blessing, and you will be receiving the blessing. You are receiving the blessing. So back to Jesus. In John 4, the disciples came upon to Jesus knowing that he was hungry and offered to bring him food. So Jesus said he had food to eat that they knew not of. He looked out at the barren fields and said, "My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. Do you not say, there are yet 4 months, then comes the harvest? I tell you, lift up your eyes and see how the fields are already white for harvest." See, I believe the whole story about prosperity, the whole story about wealth, the whole story about you are meant to live a fulfilled life. Do you accept that? Can you nod at least? You are meant to live not a happy life, I don't like that word happy, but a fulfilled life. And you're meant to feel prosperity in all the areas of your life. I'm not talking about money. Prosperity. Would you say yes? Your destiny? You're meant to live a fulfilled life, and you're meant to feel prosperous. So all that which stands between fulfilled and prosperous, that's the challenge. That's the challenge, is to go from your perception of what is not there, or the feelings. And here is the immense trick, the immense and beautiful trick of the simplicity of the teaching of unity, is that you are basically asked what? You don't have to do anything about it. You just need to let it go and let God. I know this is a simplistic statement, the letting go and letting God. That's the mystical, that's the path. Is to invite a particular situation that you have in your life where you're saying, this is not working. I let go of my perception of the situation so that Spirit can work through it. So I wake up. I can see from above the city. What that looks like, it's not prescribed. What that looks like is the delivery of the gift. But that's what we are here in unity, meant to support it in each other. You are destined and meant to live a fulfilled life right now, where you are, right here with COVID-19 all around us, and you are meant to feel prosperous. You are meant to feel the ability to walk out into a garden, to look at a sunset and realize how prosperous you are. And the beauty of that is given freely to you. If you can see it, if you can take it in. Well, I don't know what your stories would be in terms of the blessings of COVID-19. That where you look out and instead of seeing a barren field, you see with the eyes of spirit that the field is white, ready for harvest. That in this time, and none of us really know, number one, about this idea of returning to normal, if that ever, and number two, how long this period of unusualness is. And in this time of unusualness, I'm looking now for what is changing in my social structure. In my social structure. What emerges? One of the things I'm doing, we are very careful. We do our groceries, but we still, when we get together, we hold our distance. People wear masks here. But something very lovely happened the other day. As you know, those of us who have dogs, dogs are a fun and lovely and delightful harmonizer of situations. You walk your dog and you see your neighbor, and the neighbor has a dog, or the neighbor likes your dog, and before you know it, there's a conversation. And so now people are started in the neighborhood to do something, and that is to invite each other into their yard, into their driveway. And they place the chairs apart, and everybody brings their own drinks, and it's sunset, and it's starting to happen. It's starting to happen. And I, living in a neighborhood that was highly individualistically, everybody was behind their own gates and whatever, private. And now we're seeing people are sitting in the driveways. The cars are gone, the cars are somewhere parked, but they're sitting in their driveways, sharing a glass of wine with each other, nicely apart, holding the space. I find myself making a list of people that once a day, in my circle of friends that are not unity and family members, I have made a list, and once a day I intend to make one phone call to not because they called me, but I call them, and I start a conversation. But I again want you to take into this week that it is your birthright. Unity says it in more old-fashioned terms, but I say it is your birthright to feel fulfillment and to be able to feel that you're a prosperous, wealthy human. To feel it. I mean, I hope I'm clear enough. I can express this enough. This has nothing to do with money. This has to do with your ability to start taking in the wealth and the beauty that is in your world. And it can really be just the wealth and the beauty of a smile that comes across passing somebody on the street. Yes. 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 I want to bring it to a close. Would like us to come to our offering. In this phase that we are in, we are calling it our time of realizing that the church, the center, continues to operate on your donation. So I would like you to take whatever you feel and think will be or is your donation, to take it and be blessed with divine love, like we've done in the past. The simple statement, divine love through me, blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive. Let's say